Boom, 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 boom. We going?
Yeah, we're in.
Oh, okay.
We been in.
We've been in. All right. Hey guys. I think, bro. I meant to say a catchphrase at the beginning. I sold. Hey guys, welcome to Sam's Corner, where I review what I want when I want. Today we're talking about Jaime by Brittany Howard. I know. yes, we know this setup is cooked. It will maybe get better. Maybe. Alright, so this album came out in 2019. Brittany Howard was previously known most for being the front woman and the rhythm guitar player for Alabama Shakes, which had kind of a southern rock sort of style with a good amount of soul influence too. They released their first album in 2012. It was very straightforward, and through a lot of studio experimentation, they came out with their second Sound and Color in 2015, which I may review at some point because it's really good. After Sound and Color, Brittany decided that she wanted to work on this, her first solo album, and so the band went on hiatus. They only actually recently just came out of that hiatus. They put out a new single 2 weeks ago, I want to say. That's actually quite good. You should check it out. And her process for making this album, she said that she just really wanted to make music the way that she heard it, you know, without anybody else dictating what they thought of anything or anything like that. She wanted to just make what she wanted, and she also said just it was up to her to make her own mistakes, which is important because she does make a few of those. The style of the album is crazy. It's a little wacky because it's pretty all over the place. This is, for the most part, trippy, psychedelic soul and funk. I mean, right out of the gate, you start with the first track, which, while it does contain some of the DNA that really made Alabama Shakes stand out, like this very poppy sort of guitar tone, and a bass drum that just sounds like you put a cloak on a timpani in the middle of a cave and start bashing on it. It goes in a completely different direction with these whacked out, experimental, hollow sounding vocals. And the composition of it is insane. It's basically like James Brown meets Thundercat. You know, I mean, I can see him playing this at the Apollo Theater, completely whacked out of his mind. and the backup singer is singing that refrain, history repeats, and like, it's got a kind of manic, all over the place energy to it, like it's just live out of a, you know, backwoods club somewhere, which is kind of the energy that a lot of the tracks here have. Sometimes it works, I think, sometimes it doesn't. On History Repeats, it definitely works. After that, it goes right into He Loves Me, which is where we sort of start to get into some of the broader themes of the album. It's called Jaime as a dedication to her older sister, who passed away when she was a kid from a rare form of eye cancer. But she said, despite, you know, the dedication and the title, this is mostly Brittany's album about Brittany and about her life and about her thoughts and her feelings and all of that stuff. It's like a doorway into the album, more so than, hey, this is a song with lyrics. That's what you may notice as you go through the tracks here, is they're not so much songs as they are just kind of loose little experiments and little jams and stuff like that. Now, He Loves Me prominently features a sample from a preacher. The sample is fine, but in the middle of the track, she repeats one line sampled a few times. It gets just a tiny bit distracting, but it doesn't detract from the whole thing that much, because the song itself is actually really well made and interesting and catchy, and it's about her relationship with religion and how she thinks other people should view religion. It's a pretty interesting and worthwhile take, honestly. So History Repeats is kind of like, the shock of getting into, okay, what is this sound? And He Loves Me is like, okay, let's actually get into it. After that, we get to Georgia, which, okay, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, this is the best song on the album. If you are remotely interested in psychedelic soul or any of the stuff I'm talking about, you should check out this song. It rules. It's also very interesting. It's put here in the track list because it's about a crush she had on an older woman. And so putting that right after the track about your relationship with religion and God is definitely on purpose. And it's very cool. It starts out with these really analog, retro, old-sounding clavinets and keyboards along with bass. Bass for the first half of this album mostly is played by Zach Cockrell, a childhood friend of Brittany's, who's also the bass player in Alabama Shakes. She must really like his style, his bass tone, which I can't really describe, but it's like just like putting your fist to a chalkboard. It's just like there and it's direct. And that makes no sense, but that's just how I see it when I hear it. It's got these really saccharine kind of sounding vocals, and is the first, Brittany is known for her vocals really shining, and this is the first track where they stand out absolutely. And in the second half of the song, it builds into really the only real piece of rock that's on the album at all, and it feels really earned and really deserved, and it's built on this very interesting, like, revolving door of a chord progression, which is really unique and really excellent. Like I said, this song is amazing. After that is Stay High. I can see the first half of this album, I can see there's some stuff that they definitely tried to work out with Alabama Shakes. It helps, like I said, that the same bass player is here. But Georgia and Stay High especially, I could see that they were maybe planning this for a third record they were going to do before their rehearsals weren't really working out. Because Stay High, you could have told me it was ripped right from the Sound and Color sessions, and I would have totally believed you. I mean, the use of Celeste and bells and things like that is just right off of like the title track from that album, or Gemini or something like that. Despite it sounding not really anything like that. Like I said, this is a glimpse into an alternate universe where Alabama Shakes made a Curtis Mayfield song, right? It's very classic soul. Some of the other soul elements on the album are a little more neo-soul, like more of a D'Angelo, even kind of a Prince type of direction. But here, this is like, right out of an Al Green greatest hits. Okay, real quick, post-review. There's a video limit on the camera, so I had to turn it off and then readjust it. I did not check the readjustment. You're about to see the most cooked angle of my entire career. For that, I apologize. The soul vibe really continues in Tomorrow, which is, like I said, where it takes some of those older influences and just hammers on these spaced out psychedelic sounds. There's some great guitar and bass playing within the first minute. Then when it gets to this Tomorrow refrain, it opens up in one of the best sounding pieces of music on the entire album. It has these synthesizers and these bells. I don't fully know what else, but what I know is that it sounds really good. I wish the song had more of a movement feel to it, though. That's kind of an issue with many of the songs here. They don't really feel like they have a concrete end point. They just kind of stop happening, and then you're on to the next one. They don't feel super fleshed out. And that's what I think my main issue with the record as a whole is. It just feels like a lot happens, and then you move on and you don't remember any of it. Unfortunately, that's what happens on later tracks like Baby and Presence. Despite some great playing on Baby, the song just kind of happens, and you move past it, and you don't really remember it that well. Same for Presence. I really like the guitar that sounds like a harp at the beginning. Here the drums feel a little out of place. They feel a bit too booming for the sound of the song. But, it's fine. And the refrain is pretty good. It's memorable. But that's really all that's memorable about it. The songs are nice in the moment, but when they pass, and you don't really miss them that much. Short and Sweet is a nice little ballad. It kind of has a far older feel to it, actually. Like, I could almost see this being sung by being written by Irving Berlin or something like that. Sung by Al Jolson. It has that kind of, vintage aesthetic to it because it's so minimal. It's a good piece. Probably the most interesting song on the entire album is 13th Century Metal, written in collaboration with two of the main contributors on the album, the piano player Robert Glasper and the drummer Nate Smith. Now, Nate Smith does some great work throughout, especially earlier. He's on Georgia, but here he really makes his presence known with these very electro-rockish, noisy chords being played. And he goes on a crazy, almost Yusuf Days rant on the drums with intricate cymbal play and really booming snare that really cuts through the mix and elevates the spoken word passage that Brittany is doing about loving each other and being confident in yourself. But the song evolves into the most experimental part of the album for sure, but I think an experiment that really, really works. It has these excellent backing vocals about giving it to love that just sit in the background feeling a little out of place before they slide in perfectly at the end. At the same time as this noise rock level of distortion on the bass line builds, and Nate Smith does the most effortless transition from 4/4 to 12/8 that I've maybe ever heard. It made my jaw hit the floor when I first heard it. Another really interesting track is Goat Head, just because it's kind of bizarre. I mean, it sounds like the best MF Doom and Madlib beat you never heard, with these really funky drums and this repetitive piano. And then the lyrics are about an experience her dad had where he got his tires slashed and somebody dropped the dismembered head of a goat in the back seat of his car as a racist hate crime. The song is really cool and sounds great, but it's a bit of an odd mix. That's probably the point, though, because of how almost sarcastic or sardonic Brittany's lyrics are about her own experiences with racism and being mixed and growing up. But again, it's kind of a bizarre mix that I think works ultimately. But the first time you hear it, you definitely sit there thinking, this is not at all where I thought this would go. Finally, the album's rounded out with Run to Me, which kind of has a David Bowie feel almost. I mean, Brittany's talked many times about how she's influenced a lot by David Bowie, even in the Shakes days she was. And it just kind of has that spaced out type of sound. Not early Bowie, but I'm thinking more of like a Black Star. It's not a bad track. It's minimal despite its very spaced out sound, and it features Brittany with some encouraging lyrics that I think are meant to be from the perspective of her older sister Jaime, where she's saying, when you feel like you can't do it anymore, if you need help, essentially run to me and I will be there to protect you. It's very sweet. Again, after tracks like Baby, Presence, where the second half of the album loses steam a little bit in its experimentation, it just it feels a little jarring, and in the end, you're like, well, alright, there it was. It really makes you see just how front-loaded this album is. I mean, going from great tracks like Georgia, Stay High, even Tomorrow, and 13th Century Metal, to Baby, Presence. Again, some of the songs in the latter half are definitely a lot weaker, and I think that drags it down. However, the eclectic nature of the album, is pretty impressive. I mean, you could tell it's something she really wanted to do for a while, and I really respect that she went for it, despite it not having the greatest results all the time. Then again, if you're really into these murky funk type of styles and psychedelic soul, then this is probably going to be up your alley. Yeah, but those are my thoughts on Jaime by Brittany Howard. My final score is I'm feeling a 71 out of 100. Yeah, thanks, I guess. See you.